It's Thursday night, and it's time to ask the question once again. What's the buzz? Hello, everybody. I'm Mad Dog Scipio, joined as I am each and every week by the Pitbull, Amelia Pitbull Chapman, for What's the Buzz. Amelia, how are you, young lady?
I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight?
I'm amazing. Just look at me. Come on.
Absolutely.
I am remarkable tonight. I've got my friend Brandon Keaton with me. Brandon came back 2 weeks in a row. It's amazing.
Yay.
Yeah, great guy. He has quickly become one of my best friends. He don't know it yet. Before we start this show, I want to tell Brandon while he's here, and so the other remaining cast members can appreciate this. Our first show on Turbo Cola, we had most of the cast there with us. There were 3 that were absent. They will be joining us tonight. Well, we don't think Aaron will be here, but anyway, long story short, the initial numbers that came in from that show were 340,000 listens.
Wow.
We capped off at 391,000 and change.
That's
just short
awesome.
of 400,000 globally.
Nice.
And Amelia knows this now, and I will tell you guys, we are number 1 in Australia and New Zealand. We are the number 1 podcast in Australia and New Zealand. You can't make this shit up, I promise you. You just, why would you want to? So welcome to WWTF Radio Network. As I said, Brandon Keaton's here, and so that means only one thing. It's Turbo Cola time, baby.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm going to tell you what. Our first episode was remarkable. I was only missing a couple of people, but they were critical to speak to. Critical. So Brandon, he gathered them up for me, and we've got Brandon back. And let me introduce you to the remaining cast members. This is, of course, ladies. We always go ladies first around here. Jordyn Denning plays MJ, Mary Jane Turbo Cola. She is also known for Pam and Tommy, one of my favorite miniseries on TV. It's a great film. I loved it. The Blue Rose and Discussion Materials, among other notable films she's been in. But Turbo Cola is the film of the moment for our young Miss Denning. Welcome to the show. We'll get to you in a moment. And Magomba. Anthony Notarile. Anthony plays the character of Eric in Turbo Cola. He's also known for Mayor of Easttown. You've done a lot of film work, Anthony, but a lot of it uncredited. I found this out today. Yeah, I checked. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. But you've done a lot of work. You've been busy. I'm going to talk about your character, a pivotal character, too, in Turbo Cola. But before we do that, let's get to the man of the hour, Brandon Keaton. You play Officer Scott. Also, you are the producer of the film, one of the producers, I should say. Brandon is a former United States Marine, recently retired from active service, and he threw his life, body, and soul into film cinema, for which we are grateful. So let's just recap, Brandon, for the people who may have missed the first episode. Turbo Cola. Without giving away the film, let's talk about the basic story. Tell everybody what it's about.
So the film is basically Clerks meets Ocean's 11. It's a heist at a gas station. And one of the reviewers called us Ocean 7-Eleven, which I loved. And we are running with that.
Yes, I love it. It's great.
And we've also been recently, and I didn't know this until I think yesterday, that we were listed as, in some places, we're listed as a holiday movie. So on Rotten Tomatoes specifically, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, you'll see that we're listed as a holiday movie.
Yeah.
And although we're not a Christmas movie, which I think is good, there are a lot of Christmas movies out there, and a lot of them are really good. There aren't that many New Year's movies. And I think we have an opportunity there, marketing wise,
It's a strange kind of genre, isn't it?
What's that?
It's a strange kind of genre, isn't it, Brandon?
Yeah, it is. But it's also fun because every year you can count down with the movie in real time to when something definitely happens at the stroke of midnight.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a young lady missing tonight. Her name's Erin Nordseth, and she plays the character of Mindy Morris.
Yep.
Also known as the town's MILF mom. She's not here tonight. She is on set at another film. Miscalculated is the film. She's actually on set tonight doing that, so she may or may not join us. I don't know if she will, but just to let her know we are thinking about her tonight. As we say, ladies first. So, Amelia,
yes.
I'm going to hand you over to the able-bodied Jordyn Denning. Go for it.
Hi, Jordyn. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. How, as far as making this film, how is it different from just regular other films? As far as I know, the genre was different. 1999. I know, for me, I remember not using cell phones, and I know using the phones and seeing payphones. How is it different compared to our era, now your era?
Yeah, so that was something we wanted to do justice and pay a lot of attention to with even like art department. I mean, we're working in a modern gas station, so we were wanting to make sure everything was Y2K looking. But for us too, the most fun part was costuming it for it being in 1999 and having the 90s be such a popular trend coming back currently in fashion with shows like Euphoria really highlighting that. We all got liberty over kind of creating our costumes with the budget we were given, and that was something really fun that I think all of us individually expressed our characters with. And it was fun to see that kind of all come together. You know, Jimmy showing up in his like very gothic outfit. Anthony, you have one of my favorite costumes I've ever seen.
Right?
It was so fun, and it gave us such authority over our characters and over the creative design of them. Because something I was talking to our director a lot about was costuming and like how we as people, let alone as characters, express ourselves with our clothing. So yeah, it was fun to do the research on that and to go back and watch some of our favorite movies, you know, from the 90s and kind of get inspiration, whether it was from Jennifer Connelly or Molly Ringwald or, you know, whatever, kind of these iconic 90s heroes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was really fun.
The Breakfast Club.
Yes, that was one of my favorites, especially since I graduated in 1990. That I tell you.
Jordyn, you've done, and Anthony as well, whoever wants to take this, Jordyn and Anthony, both of you have done corporate film as well as independent. Talk to everybody watching this who may be considering a career in film as an actor about the freedoms and liberties allowed to you in independent film. How does it differ from the corporate structure?
Anthony, you want to take it?
Sure. Yeah. I think for me, the reason that I love like doing independent film, even as I sort of like luckily get to like grow in certain areas of my acting career, I always want to come back to indie films because I think the thing I love most about filmmaking is like that collaboration. And I feel like you definitely felt that on Turbo Cola. And sometimes when you do, so like I've done studio television as opposed to studio movies. But I know it's very much, even on both sides, it's very much like, you know, they knock on my trailer, I come to set and I go back to my trailer at the end. Whereas something like Turbo Cola, you're really like entrenched in it, you know, like we're staying in hotels together, we're rehearsing the scenes in like the lobby of the hotel, then we're getting to set. So we're sort of all cast and crew alike, surrounded together throughout the whole process.
What Anthony is telling everybody is absolutely true. I have had, you believe it or not, I have had experience on set. You spend a lot of time in your trailer, a lot of time in the dressing room, and you spend an awful lot of time back at the hotel waiting for a call. You may be on set for 5 minutes and then you go back to your wherever and spend a lot of time by yourself playing cards, eating and drinking a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
That's what you do when you're on a film set. Television a little different. Anthony, tell everybody the difference between the primary difference in your opinion between television and film.
That's like such a loaded question. That's such a loaded
That's why I asked you, brother.
Yeah. I mean, I just think time matters a lot more in something like television. So if you're in like a 30-minute show, you don't really have a choice on how quickly like some lines need to come out of your face, you know, whereas like in Turbo Cola, when I have a monologue at the end that's like a page or two or whatever, I don't have to worry necessarily about like sticking it within a 30-minute or 23-minute time frame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think just like time and genre matter a whole lot in something like TV. Whereas I think in film, you can sort of like weave into different genres a little easier. You can take your time on stuff a little more. I think, I mean, there's like a million other answers too. So those are just two. But yeah, that's what I noticed is exactly that.
How about for you, Jordyn?
That same question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like what Anthony's saying is very true. I think there's a freedom that comes with film that TV doesn't always allow for. And even for aspiring actors or working actors right now listening, like even in the audition process, I think it's very different how you audition for a feature film versus a studio television show. We're taught that like with television, it's like punctuation matters and pacing matters. And it's a very formulaic experience. And you really want to be tight on your lines. And I feel like with film, especially with indie film, it's obviously dependent on your director and your writer, but a lot of times there's more freedom to take things at your own pace, to try different things, to improvise, to change the lines around. And I think that's something we all explored a lot working together as a cast on something. Our directors and producers were really comfortable with, was letting us kind of have, doing a take for us after we knew we kind of got this one take that we would ideally want. So yeah, I think there is a freedom that comes with film that TV doesn't always make space for. I think as TV is evolving, these streaming platforms are making very cinematic film-like shows. I'm sure that crosses over more, but yeah, with my experience on some studio TV, it's definitely quick and you're back to your trailer.
Let's give a little shout out here. You were in Hulu's recent miniseries, Pam and Tommy. I love that. It was tongue-in-cheek, very loosely based on the Tommy and Pam Anderson, Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson sex tape. It was a very interesting visual. Put it that way. You'll know if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. Coca-Cola a lot.
Cool. Yeah, that part that was just came through the agent that I just recently signed with, and it was an audition for a small part in the first episode, and it was my first time working on a studio set, and so it was a really exciting experience. It was definitely a learning experience too, and watching it is such a machine when you're going on those sets. I mean, there are hundreds, if not 1,000 people working. It's a large production, especially for a show like that. But it was really cool. In the segment I did in that is a flashback scene, so it takes place in the 60s. So going into hair, makeup, and wardrobe for that, similar to Turbo Cola being a period piece, I find that to be something that's really fun just to get into character.
You can get lost in a project like that. You really can. Yeah. You can get lost in a hurry because you just become like a cog in the wheel. This is you mentioned it perfectly. It's a piece of machinery that just moves.
It moves,
and you're part of the one of the moving parts.
Yes.
Brandon,
sir,
you're a guy who was largely fearless. You're former Marine. You're a guy who likes to blow shit up, to use your words. You also said on the last program that you were petrified among this crew of actors. Explain to me, because we played a critical role here. Officer Scott is, of course, the town's nice guy cop. One of the guys, one of the boys. But you have also the responsibility of pulling off the producer role of this. Did you have to walk a fine line between producer and actor? And if so, what was?
Not really. Not really. Got to keep in mind that we were our own pandemic pod when we were filming this thing. We were the only people in the hotel, and we were the only people in the gas station at that time, because the gas station was closed when we got there, and then we would, set things up to film. So there was really, and that's one of the things that I liked about doing this particular project was sometimes when you go to a project, there's a standoffishness between the cast and the crew.
Yeah.
And I did not pick up on any of that, if there was any. The cast and the crew all got along very well. And it was sort of like we were in our own little, pot of misery with the food and the bad hotel and, and the bad weather, of course, because it was winter in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Well, that's to Jordyn and Anthony's point earlier. When you're working the corporate film structure, there tends to be this, them and us mentality, the suits and then the talent. On an indie film, you have the great luxury of commingling the quote unquote suits with the talent, because you're all part of the same mechanism. As proof, you're a producer, but you're playing an officer in the film.
That was like I said, that was something that really scared me. I had been acting all of 6 months when we did that scene. so these guys coming in, as soon as Nick opened his mouth, I was like, oh wow. These guys are good.
Yeah. Well, we should tell everybody that the film takes place entirely on location in a real mini mart in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, filmed entirely on location. I believe, if I remember right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you guys started principal photography in 2020. Is that about right?
December of 2020. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you were right at the height of the pandemic. Right. It had to make for interesting filming, particularly in a place like New Cumberland, PA, which I'm not entirely unfamiliar with, by the way. I actually know where the place is.
Oh, nice.
What mini mart did you use? I wanted to ask you that the last time.
We used the one next to the Iron Bridge. You know where that is? Wow, you know where that is? About. Cool. Yeah,
I actually know where you're talking about.
Yeah, it's on Bridge Street. It's the one next to the Iron Bridge.
All right. Now, let's talk about stories with the locals. You guys have to have stories with the locals. And I see a little birdie told me. So go ahead, Brandon. Fess up, young man.
Well, it's funny because Anthony actually had a pretty cool story of him. If you recall, you've seen the movie a couple of times, that Eric's big thing is going to get the beer for the boys.
Yes.
Well, Anthony actually went to go get the beer.
Yeah.
Far across the street. And I dropped the ball. I was like, man, because in Pennsylvania, you have to go to a government store to get beer.
And they're called state stores. Yeah.
So, and I just, for whatever reason, probably because we were shooting overnights.
Yeah.
I just forgot to get beer. And there's a bar right across the street from the gas station called Nick's. I'll give a little plug for Nick's.
Absolutely.
And Anthony's like, wait a minute, don't they have beer over there? I was like, yeah, they got beer, but I don't think they have a case. So he went over there and got beer for the boys, literally.
Yeah. I heard that story from a little birdie. Like I said, a little birdie told me. So that wasn't, it wasn't unprovoked. It was actually a deliberate question. Let's talk a little bit, Jordyn. Let's talk about the character of MJ, Mary Jane. She is the love interest, or supposedly love interest of our hero of the story, Mr. Austin Morris. Played brilliantly by Nick Stozer, and I like Nick. He's a heck of a character. He is a character. Funny kid.
Mm-hmm.
What? It was your first time working with Nick?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about having to create this relationship out of pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you do this? You're meeting the guy for the first time, and so hi, I'm Jordyn. Let's kiss.
Icebreaker with most people. No, me and Nick started FaceTiming during just the pre-production process. I was living in Hawaii at the time, and he was in New York. And yeah, we just started FaceTiming to kind of like build a friendship and build chemistry. And by the time we got to set, I feel like we had kind of gone through all those questions of just getting to know someone. We were able to connect quicker. But that first night we all got in. We got in on December 8th. It was my birthday, I remember. And we were starting shooting the next day, so we wanted to stay up the whole night so we could start adjusting to shooting at night. So we were shooting like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So the whole cast, I mean, we just went into Nick's room that night and all just stayed up talking and bonding. And that night particularly, I think it was so formative in building chemistry, not only with Nick, but with everyone on set. I had the privilege of knowing Brooke and Landon before filming that. So we already had our chemistry going as friends, but bringing in Jared and Anthony and Nick and Aaron, it was, yeah, I think that night was really important just to spend time. And God, we had so much fun. Like, it just felt like summer camp. Like we would just be, I don't know, goofing around all night. Anthony, I just found a video of us seeing, we were in the hotel room seeing who could like slide in their socks the furthest.
I don't even remember that, but there are so many like just moments that people will share like 9 months later of videos of us doing stuff, and I'm like, I totally forgot we did all of this.
And we were delirious. We weren't sleeping.
Yeah, we were delirious, and there were so many moments of like us as like especially the 6 of us like running scenes and stuff and talking about the characters, but there were like equally as many moments of us just doing ridiculous dumb stuff that had nothing to do with the movie. And like there's like just like what Jordyn just said, it's like it just brings such a fun memory of like how delirious we were for that whole time period.
Yeah.
Anthony, when you're on a new set, how do you bond? How do you prepare to work with your prospective new cast? And do you have any little particular quirks that you engage in?
When we actually got so I had this was the first time I had like made this request, but I felt like it was important because of the character. I had told Luke, the director, I didn't really want to do many rehearsals pre getting there. Like once we got there, I said, use me as much as you need, but sort of like on Zoom leading up, because I just wanted there to be a distance between like Eric and everybody else, so I could treat them. I don't know, just so I can have some like fun, spontaneous moments of really being a jerk to these guys. And it just helped with that thing. But then when I got there, I was also, as Anthony, was like bummed because it felt like the 5 of them were like so tight. And I'm like, oh man, they're all friends. Now I got to just sit here alone in this hotel for 6 days. They're all, so
that's kind of why I asked you, because I heard that you're kind of the protagonist of the story, but you were also
maybe protagonist. You mean, or you mean antagonist? Do you mean the bad guy or the good guy?
No, I no, not the bad guy. I don't mean the antagonist.
Oh, you mean the good guy? Talk to me. What do you mean?
Okay, here's what I mean by that. We're going to see a clip tonight. It's a critical clip. It's the turning point in my opinion. And Brandon, you may or may not agree with me. I think you'll agree with me. It's the turning point in the film where we finally see vulnerability from our gun wielding menace here. Jimmy, right? So Jimmy is this tough guy wannabe, right? That all comes to a crashing halt based on what you say and what you do. I'm not going to give it away right now, but we're going to see a little clip in a bit. So did you find it helpful for you to kind of remove yourself a bit to create a little headspace for yourself?
I I think it depends on the role. If I so when I was saying I didn't really want to do a lot of rehearsals, it was more for the big monologue at the end from Eric. It was more for that like first scene I had where I just am throwing stuff in Nick's face and being a jerk to everybody.
Yeah.
But once we got there, that all sort of went out the window anyway, because I did rehearse so much with them, and like I ended up getting so close with them before we even started filming. Like Jordyn talked about, the night we got in, I'm pretty sure it was before we filmed anything, right, Jordyn? The night you're talking, yeah. So it was before we filmed anything. So all of this, like, okay, I'm gonna try to just stay on my own thing until we start filming, went away because we spent the whole night just talking about life and the ups and downs of the career and everything in between. So I don't know. It's hard to have quirks when you're on set, because like I never would be the guy to be like playing the sort of bad guy and then be like, I gotta stay in character nonstop and treat you bad, and I would never do that. So like,
I have a friend of mine. I'm going to tell you a little something, Anthony. I have a friend of mine who's a very well-known film actor who got his start in pro wrestling. That's my background. Is interestingly enough, professional wrestling. There you go. He has this particular quirk. That's why I asked you if you had any quirks. He has to play with a roll of quarters. I don't know why. But he connects to a roll of quarters. He has to play with a roll of quarters while he's on set and before he does a scene. There's something calming about that to him, to play with, this change in his hands. Jordyn, do you have any weird quirks like that?
I'm trying to think. I feel like when I'm working on set, I like to get involved with my environment as much, whether that is involving some type of like prop thing. I feel like that grounds me into a scene really well. I don't think I have a quirk like he does of like moments before set. Sometimes music, especially if it's an emotional scene, I can just go into my own world in headphones, and music is something that affects me so much as an actor and an artist. So finding something that's in a similar tone of the material I'm about to work on. But no, I don't think I have any physical quirks yet.
Okay. Amelia, questions for you.
Yes, I was going to ask Anthony, you know how you were saying that you all, were talking and everything the night before the set. During the movie, did anybody play any practical jokes on each other that was so funny that you could remember?
For me, I mean, we busted Nick's chops a good amount throughout that whole. Yeah, but I will tell you, most of the like pranks, if I were to do something, would be on camera to Nick. Like I would, especially like when I'm still just sort of like the light, goofy jock guy and not like serious at the end. Like I would just always try to make Nick laugh on camera as much as I could, which actually helped just keep things fun for me. But I would do like the stuff. There's a scene where I throw a lot of stuff in his face. I think I was just trying to make Brooke laugh. But that's not like in the script. So I just would screw around a lot with Nick, but it would always be recording. So we got like really good. I'm only interacting with him for like 10 maybe total minutes of the movie, but it feels like such a fun relationship we have because we kept it so loose, and I was sort of, I guess, playing pranks on him like while recording. But in terms of anything off camera, I don't think so. I mean, Jordyn, maybe I'm forgetting something, but we just busted Nick's chops all the time. I don't know if that was a prank or just us being mean people to believe. But either way, yeah.
Jordyn, how did the females on the set get along with each other? You often hear, particularly on a small set, that that some of the women can be catty to each other. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not making this up.
I believe it. I was close friends with Brooke prior, so there were no curveballs thrown there. But me and Brooke, we only had one day working together on set, which is the big group scene. All of my other scenes are just with Nick. But that scene that we're all in together, no, there was no. I mean, in the scene, me and Brooke have this animosity towards each other and this catty girl moment when we're in character. But no, out of character, it was so fun getting to work with her because we had been, putting up our own things during quarantine and like rehearsing plays in her apartment, but we had never actually like really worked with each other and seen each other work on camera. So that was really fun. But yeah, definitely a rare experience that I had known her prior to going into it. So we had just a good banter and good.
Beautiful. Brandon, questions. Put your producer hat on for half a second. Let's talk a little bit about the shooting schedule. It was, as we said, it was on location, New Cumberland, PA, December on the East Coast, not known for its warmest weather. Let's talk about the shooting schedule. How long of a shoot was it? Did you work? Tell us what your primary schedule was. Did you work mostly at night? How did all this transpire?
Yeah, it was the entire movie was shot overnights. So it was 2 weeks of overnights, 12 days actually. We shot this movie. Now you may be thinking to yourself, 12 days. Wow, that's really cramped, and it is. It is really, really cramped for a feature film. However, we did a couple things to make sure that we were able to meet that deadline. One, the director is used to working commercials. That's what he does for a living. So he's used to working and condensing information and getting the most out of his actors in a short amount of time.
Oh boy,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
The second thing we did was we built into the schedule about an hour and a half to 2 hours every night. Again, because we were the only ones in the hotel, we could use their conference room and block out the gas station. So every night for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, we would have a rehearsal with the director in a mocked up gas station before we went to set.
Yeah.
So that helped out. And I didn't know this until like day 6, but the actors themselves were so professional that before they got to that rehearsal, they had already been rehearsing for about 2 or 3 hours on their own, which talks
with each other
in each other's room. Yeah. So that's definitely speaks to their professionalism. Yeah, absolutely. And we had and honestly, we had the most kick-ass AD, the assistant director, Neva, who feared no one. She's like a 4'2" little Indian girl, feared no one. And she was awesome. And she kept us on schedule too.
Look, when you're 4 foot nothing, you got to make up for it somehow. What you lack in size, you make up in sheer ass kicking attitude.
And she had it.
Take it awesome. From me. And Anthony, we're going to take a look at your pivotal scene in the film. I'm not going to set it up. I'm going to play it, and then we'll talk about it after. Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's roll it.
Am I going to?
Look. Look at me! I've only got about 10 minutes before I pass out.
Oh my God, oh my God.
No, oh God. Here's the game plan. Jennifer, Jimmy, take me to the car. Jennifer, since you're not high on God knows what, you drive. Jimmy, bring the gun.
What?
He didn't shoot me. Did you? Say it with me, Jimmy. I didn't shoot him.
I didn't mean to.
Jimmy, hey, look at me. I don't have time for this. No, say it with me, Jimmy. I didn't shoot him. Someone came in to rob the old Quality Mart. Naturally, I stood up to that person. They shot me and ran off. Jimmy over here picked up the gun. Right? Jimmy? You picked up the gun?
Yeah.
Austin? You I need you to get all this money off the ground. We don't know where the money came from. Swearsky, yes we do. A bullet hit the ATM and short-circuited it.
He's right. I saw it.
Of course I'm right. So you need to get the money back inside.
Oh, how are we supposed to do that?
There's probably a way. I'm sure.
And then erase the tapes.
I don't think
No. If there's nothing missing, Austin, then it doesn't matter that the tapes melt. No.
That was an amazing scene.
Thank you.
That was an amazing scene. We talk about the last time we had Landon here, and we were talking about his character. Jimmy spends the entire film wanting to use this gun. Would you agree with that, Brandon? He's just itching to use it, right?
Well, Jimmy thinks that the world is going to end and that he needs it. So he thinks he is going to have to use it.
Even to the point where Officer Scott was in the mini mart, and behind him, Jimmy's brandishing his weapon, right?
Well, I think that once again goes back to what Landon was saying about the character, that every time he's with a group, he's posturing. He's showing that it's not the real Jimmy, basically.
Yeah.
So that was a point where he is posturing. Yeah.
And it was the character of Eric, Anthony's portrayal of Eric, that shows that vulnerability. Here's the guy who takes a bullet to the shoulder. He's clearly not mortally wounded. He's got a braze wound. So, but he's still cognizant and coherent. So, Anthony, let's talk about Eric in that moment. You're clearly the catalyst for that scene and what transpires next. As roles go, it's a small role, but it's critical. Talk to me about the importance of that role to you.
It's so funny because I loved the role and the character even when I had signed on to it, or I think right when I was cast. It was actually, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, but by the time I had originally agreed, it was just that first beer scene for Eric. And then I think through rewrites, and I was like, okay, it's a super tiny role at that point. But I was still like, okay, there's a fun character and I could do a lot of fun things with it. And then that gun scene that scene that we just watched got added after I had agreed, which I was very happy about, even just selfishly to have a cool moment. But I think that I've done cool leads in indie stuff and I've done network roles or whatever, but I think it's my favorite character because of how much fun I had with it, but also because it was a nice challenge to play a sort of 90s jock that we've always seen before. Granted, I'm much shorter than most of the other jocks that we've seen, so that was interesting. But also that moment that we watched, really you don't ever see a stereotypical jock, high school or football guy have a moment like that in a film. So I was very happy with the arc the character goes on from sort of being this douchey, bravado-driven jock who's so insecure to a guy who really does, in a way, pull the group together and have this moment of leadership. And throughout most of the film, you see Eric as sort of an idiot who's full of himself. But then in that moment, you actually get to see why he was a good football player too, because he sort of is able to handle pressure and able to tell people what to do. So I just think it was a very interesting take on a very, very, very stereotypical jockey character.
Luke actually came to me after we had already cast him. He was the first one to be cast. That Luke and I definitely agreed. Okay, yeah, he's it. And you were like, maybe I don't know, the first 5 tapes that we looked at. Yeah. And I was like, oh, dude, you got to watch this guy. So through as we were doing the rewrites, Luke came to me and he's like, I think this actor can do a little more than the stereotypical jock douche. What do you think we should do here? And then he presented me with his idea and I was like, dude, that's gold. Yeah. Because it does round out the character a little bit more and it does give him that leadership role. And if you listen to what he says, in the, you know, in one certain part, you'll realize that maybe sometime in the past, he might have blown the big game, and this was sort of his chance to make up for that.
We have a question from one of my my cohorts from the world of pro wrestling. Who's your favorite screenwriter and producer? This is for anybody who wants to take it. It's an open question.
I think
Jordyn, how about you? We'll go with you first.
For screenwriting, he's also directs as well. But Damien Chazelle is one of my favorites, and he does Whiplash, La La Land. He's now doing what's called Babylon with Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Whiplash was a really formative film for me, wanting to be an actor. But I love his approach with screenwriting and directing. And then probably the Hunger Games movie franchise growing up was really so special to me. It was my first time, I think, seeing such a big film that felt so attainable as a young actor, because it's led by young actors. And I've always loved the like dystopic sci-fi worlds that I was.
Did you want to be Katniss when you grew up?
Oh yeah, 100%. But so Nina Jacobson at Color Force produces those, and amongst a million other wonderful films. So I would say she's definitely someone I admire.
Anthony, how about you? Favorite writer, producer?
Yeah, my answer is like very stereotypical New York Italian actor, but Paul Schrader, who wrote Scorsese's Taxi Driver, he wrote Raging Bull, which is like my all-time favorite film. In terms of like, and he's still writing stuff now, but some of the most like formative films that really inspired me and got me into filmmaking were written by Paul Schrader, and obviously I'm a Scorsese guy. I mean, I don't even have to tell you that. If I'm from New York and I'm Italian, you know that already.
You better be, because we'll kick you out of the club.
I know. Yeah, but so I would say Paul Schrader in terms of like some very historic films, and then currently, I don't like. There are films that I love more than his, but I think there's so much to learn from Aaron Sorkin's writing style, and I think it's so unique in that maybe some of his like stuff isn't my favorite, although he's so like I love his movies. But his writing specifically is so unique and so obvious when you hear dialogue that's from a guy like Aaron Sorkin. And I think I would obviously put him up there just in terms of how much you can learn from his dialogue.
Okay. We're going to take another look at a clip here. I think this might be Erin. I mean, no, maybe it's Erin. I know she's not here tonight, but let's take a look. Yeah, this is Erin's scene. I got to give Erin a shout out. She was supposed to be here with us tonight. So, in honor of her commitment to the show, we're going to show her clip.
Long night?
I'm fine.
Golds, please.
Coming right up. It's going to be $4.25.
I got exact.
I'm impressed. Experience right there.
Looks like your little girlfriend's mad.
Not my girlfriend. Maybe she was, and now she's not, or maybe we still are. Couldn't tell you.
I just think that you should...
Mom, please stop.
Okay.
So just the cigarettes?
Yeah, just these things. I'll be at the Pioneer if you need me.
Sounds good. What?
I'm leaving your father.
Wow.
Tomorrow, first thing.
What?
What kind of what? Like, I don't know
No,
what?
that's cool, but really?
I want you to be there.
Where?
At the prison, if you want.
Why?
Just if you want.
Mom, I don't want to spend the first day of the new millennium in
Well, I just thought
prison
that,
with
you know...
It's a no. I'm not going to do that. You gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta do it by yourself, kid.
Harry's a smart kid. Smart ass, but still smart. That'll get you in trouble someday.
Thanks. Don't you need to get a drink with your friends?
Yeah, I should grab a drink.
You should grab a Turbo Cola.
All right. Jordyn, let's take a look at you.
Yeah.
MJ.
Called your house? You're working here all night?
Yeah. Rhonda's kid is sick. That's why he's working.
So the world's about to end and you're working at Quality Mart.
Yeah, well, I don't really have a choice. Also, it pays double, so.
Right. The biggest party in the history of this shitty town versus an extra $2 an hour.
Hey, $2 adds up over time.
Why does she have a duffel bag?
I can't wear this to the party. I need to change and then Jimmy's gonna come pick me up.
Wait, Jimmy's coming here?
Yeah? What's wrong with you guys?
Nothing. It's just we haven't seen him since he got kicked out, so it might be kind
My
of
parents were
awkward.
really freaked when he actually didn't come home. I doubt it'll last. What slushy flavors do you have?
Orange and cherry.
Whoa, slow down. So many choices.
Jimmy can't be here.
I know. That's why I need to make sure he goes to the party and stays there.
He hates Dean. He hates me.
He doesn't hate you.
He hates
He
everybody.
only hates people in a meta sense. It's not
They
real.
won't turn off!
Let's watch out for Jimmy. Yeah, it's broken. I meant to put up a sign, but I couldn't find the tape.
So much excitement already. It's not even 9 p.m. How do you do it?
Bravery, street smarts,
Right.
the right training can definitely help.
That'll do it.
I need to get a mop bucket.
How long does it take to fix the slushy machine?
Yeah. I still need to get the, yeah.
Okay, I have 2 questions about that scene.
All right.
Who cleaned up the mess, and where'd you get the Burger King uniform?
Neva cleaned up the mess, I believe. And the Burger King, we found a vintage I think it was actually from the 1970s or 80s.
Did you
It was on
really?
Etsy.
You found a circa 99 Burger King uniform?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
That was a good one. Luke, I think Luke had sent it to me. He had found it somewhere and he was like, "Do you like this?" I was like, "I love it." And it was my size and everything.
Brandon, where did you guys find a Burger King uniform?
I have no idea. That was completely.
It was on Etsy.
Oh, was that Luke's thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
There's a
Luke
website called
found it on
Etsy
Etsy.
where individual people can sell things they have. It's like an eBay, but
Wow.
for curated, crafted goods.
I should have asked him. He was here last week. I could have asked him. I forgot to ask him.
It's a great. I still have it. I love it.
Well, I had so much fun last week. Half the questions I wanted to ask went out the window. We were just bullshitting, having a good time. So, let's talk about. I got to turn it over to Amelia. Amelia. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. You can talk for a minute.
That's okay, because going back to the Etsy and the you can get a lot of things like people want to sell on eBay, things like that from vintage, and you also had to find the right cars, things like that, and the right phones. People would donate. Sometimes they even would put it in the set just to even get their names mentioned in the movies. And did you guys have a lot of people who want to donate stuff for the movie, or?
We did. Eric's vintage 1996. Everything okay with the sound there? Sorry.
Yeah. That's Amelia's headphone. It likes to short out every once in a while.
Gotcha. Yeah. Eric's vintage 1996 Mustang. Just beautiful condition. Somebody donated that to us from the next town over. And
that's remarkable.
Thank you, Miss Niedig, for for donating the Mustang. Somebody also donated the cop car from the same town, next town over, in Mechanicsburg. We threw Mechanicsburg a bone. You may have heard our line in the movie Mechanicsville, Michigan. There's no such thing as Mechanicsville, Michigan. But we wanted to pay homage to Mechanicsburg, which is a local small town.
Well, I want to pay tribute right now to Brandon Keaton. Let's take a look at something here real quick.
Hey, do you know my mom? Excuse me? She's 5'5", blonde woman. Supposedly hot. Mindy Clearball?
Morris, but yeah. Morris. I know, man. How is she? She's good.
Hola.
Gonna win big there?
What?
under the bottle cap. I won a hat last week.
Yeah, me too. I just haven't received it yet.
Well, your odds look pretty good. That's a lot of pop.
Yeah, it's for the party at the fallout shelter. I mean, really small, just a few friends, only sodas. You should come by.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Say hi to your mom for me.
Beautiful. And that was the scene where you told us last week you were petrified.
I was terrified. These guys are good, and
they really are.
I had only been acting for 6 months, and I wanted to not be the weak link.
Well, talk to me about the process of assembling this ensemble cast. How many people did you have? Table readings as normal? Did you have a table reading?
There were 1,300 applicants per part. I don't.
Oh, damn!
Each part got 1,300 applicants that we had to wade through, and we whittled it down to a top 10. Both Luke and I, separately, and we did it separately. The cool thing is that 60 to 80% of the time, our top 10s matched out of 1,300. So that tells you how close we were as far as vision goes for this film.
Absolutely.
And then it was just then the top 10, everybody got an audition that we sent the top 10 of each part sides. And then we whittled it down from there, basically. The real, I guess, casting came on the second callback. So we asked them to do a scene, and some of them were wonderful. But then when we asked them to switch it up a little bit, some people were not able to make that switch. And that, I would say that got rid of probably about 70% of who we were looking for.
Wow.
So, once we got down to, a final 3, then we had our final callback, and it was just like, we wanted, again, because it was COVID, we wanted the top 3 of each character to be able to pull off the part.
Right.
Because it was just a contingency plan, and it actually happened. We actually had to implement it.
Yeah.
One of the characters, Swearsky.
Yeah.
The guy who we cast originally as Swearsky, he had to drop out for COVID reasons. But he did a wonderful thing, and he let us know 3 months before we started shooting. He didn't wait until the last minute, which makes me want to work with him more now.
I'll tell you what, call it, fate or serendipity, but Jared was brilliant.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant as Swearsky.
He was great.
He was remarkable. And Jared became my new closest best friend last week, in case you missed that show.
Wait, let me just shout out Jared real quick, because he's also one of my best friends.
Absolutely.
He's one of my best friends too. I agree. Like, it's crazy that it was never not going to be him. We got lucky having him, but also it's like one of the first things he's done on camera. And so for him to have such a pivotal role in the movie and crush it and just be such a natural, it's like, I just want to give him a big shout out, because he really is so amazing in this film.
It's funny, Anthony, you say that, because when I do an interview, I go in knowing an awful lot about who I'm going to talk to. I knew that there were 2 people that was their first time in front of a camera. I knew Jarrett was one of them, and I knew that day that the cinematographer was the other, who's not used to being in front of the camera.
Oh yeah, that little scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great guy, and I forgot his name already, Brandon. I apologize.
Dennis was the cinematographer.
Thank you. Yes.
Kurt
Okay.
was the cameraman. Yeah.
Okay, that's it. I don't think, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it would have been the same movie without Jared. He just brought that it factor. It had to be Nick, and it had to be Jared, and it had to be Anthony and Jordyn and Erin. It had to be that cast. And Brooke and Landon. That was the ensemble cast. I have to tell you, my friend, someone came to me and asked me to put a bug in your ear. And I'll tell you off camera who. But someone said Turbo Cola 2 the day after. And they're already writing a script to get to you. I can't make this up. They're already writing a sequel to your movie.
Tell them not to do that.
Okay. But the idea is there. Turbo Cola 2. It's got to be a part 2 somewhere. We have to find out what happens to Eric. We got to find out. We are left with the implied idea that Austin takes the money and runs, but we don't know. We don't know. Does she fall in love with MJ, or does she tell him to go to the curb? We don't know any of this stuff. So there's got to be some kind of maybe an answer in perhaps a sequel. And you're not saying fucking thing, are you?
Brandon's got tongue-tied to some contractual things that he doesn't want to speak about. So,
I hear you. Absolutely. That means silence in this business means there's a part 2 working somewhere.
No, there's not.
He's writing an Eric movie where it's just me.
Yeah, right.
And if I could switch the subject here, here's what I love about this cast. And you mentioned that it had to be, Eric, it had to be Anthony, it had to be Jordyn. Anthony just did a short film, and both Nick and Jared were in it. They just wrapped last weekend.
That's right. They did me a huge solid too. And Brandon's going to help me with some producing stuff when we have it sort of finalized. But yeah,
everybody wants to work together again.
And I can't blame them. I'll be honest with you. And I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. There are few films that I believe wholeheartedly in. Because largely I believe there's a lot of crap being thrown at us with no originality and nothing to sink your teeth into. There's nothing to bite into anymore. I was asked to write a review for Rotten Tomatoes, which I did, and I read it to Brandon before the show. Let's talk a little bit about what's next for each of you. So, Brandon, I'll start with you and we'll go around the horn. What's next besides there's not going to be a Turbo Cola 2?
Luke and I are looking to work together again on something that Luke wrote. I didn't get to answer your previous question about screenwriters and whatnot. My favorite screenwriters are people who also direct what they write. So Kevin Smith, Tarantino, I appreciate those guys because there's less middlemen in the creative vision. And that's what I the next thing we're going to work on with Luke is a little 80s kids on bikes horror thriller. And that's what we're trying to get money for now. We're talking to some investors, and hopefully somebody will pony up some cash, and we'll be able to get this project done.
Let me know if I can help you with that. This show has a very, very dear friend who lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps horror. I'll tell you off camera his name, and I will hook you up with him. I told you we got a lot of friends in the movie business. A lot of them. So
that's what we're working on next.
Okay. Anthony, what do you got? What's coming up next for you, and how can people reach you on your social? Do you have any Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of that fun stuff?
Yeah, I got an Instagram. It's the only thing it's the only social media platform I use mostly. It's Anthony Notarile, just my name, very there under me, very Italian. You'll take you a couple times to spell Notarile right, but once you get it, follow me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I had a very exciting booking in LA recently through my my agent, and I can't do the NDA stuff. You know, I feel like it's so cringy to say I can't talk about it, but I'm so close to shooting this thing that I would hate if my big mouth got me in trouble now.
Yeah, no, don't jinx it, brother.
It's an exciting thing though, and if you follow me on Instagram, eventually you will find out. And then I just wrapped a short film, a SAG short film that I acted in, and I directed, and I wrote as well, and it went amazing. And so I'll be over the summer really knee deep in the post-production process for that. And then I got a SAG feature that's about to wrap as well. So some cool network things, some cool independent things. And honestly, though, I just hope that I get to work with, this is no BS. Like, I really hope that I get to work with everybody who is involved in this project again, whether it's on the same thing or just throughout life, we sort of find each other. But man, I hope the next projects I do all involve somebody in some way from Turbo Cola.
Oh, I hope so too. I have to see you guys again. Maybe Turbo Cola 2. I'm gonna bust your chops, Brandon. Jordyn, what's next for Jordyn Denning? What do you got going on?
I've got some things that I wrapped that should be coming out soon. The quickest thing to come out, I believe, will be I'm in an episode of Animal Kingdom opposite Dennis Leary, so that was fun. That's coming out in July. And then I've done 2 features since then that are both in post-production, the Blue Rose and discussion materials.
Terrific.
Discussion materials I wrapped at the beginning, like March, I think we wrapped that. And then, so that, and I'm in the early pre-production process of something that I'm writing with a friend. So that is an exciting new feat for me.
It's amazing how many people, Brandon, how many young actors these days want to do everything. They want to act, produce, write. They want to be totally immersed in every aspect of the business. You never saw that years ago.
No, and it makes complete sense though, if you think about it. Because
it really does. Is that a new phenomenon?
Well, it's a fairly new phenomenon, but if you think about it, it makes complete sense. This new generation's coming up on YouTube and TikTok, and they're making their own videos and content anyway.
True.
So why not take it to the next level and see what you can do with it? And they're unafraid to do it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, if you're going to be in this business, you got to have, a steel set of cojones.
Yeah,
you got to have brass.
With the writing thing, I think as an actor, it's such an industry that can feel really powerless. Like there are these gatekeepers, and I think a lot of actors, now that we have access obviously to creating our own content in a way that we didn't before, but I think, at least for me, there's such a sense of control and productivity. Feeling like you kind of have autonomy and don't have to be waiting or relying on other people. I feel like it's a very common thread through our generation, not just wanting to sit and wait for a phone to ring, but just taking the tools we have and, the producers we've worked with and trying to put all the pieces together to make our own things and kind of.
Well, I'll tell you why. I can't wait to see everybody's next project. Amelia, tell everybody what's next for us. What we got coming up, kid?
On June 29th and 30th, we got Pearl Jr. coming on for Michael Jackson Part 2 and 3. And on July 5th, we have a conspiracy theory episodes coming on. And also we have on July 7th, we have Angelo Capone. He is a Jerry Lewis impersonator. And we have a special surprise guest coming on that day.
Angelo Capone is, in fact, the country's leading Jerry Lewis impersonator. He doesn't call himself an impressionist. He is a Jerry Lewis tribute artist. He is a remarkable talent, and proud to say he's a friend of mine.
Right.
We have, and I'm going to announce it next week, but we have a game-changing guest coming on the show in September. This is how far I had to book him in advance for this show.
And also we have on July 10th, actually, we have somebody's birthday coming up.
My birthday coming up.
Yes.
Yes.
And then
I'm celebrate my birthday by bringing some remarkable guests on.
Yeah, and July 12th, so far we have a gentleman by the name of Thomas Ryan. He is a New Jersey film director.
He is a New Jersey-based film director who I am one of the people I'm going to hook up Brandon Keaton with. But that's just one of them. I got a couple of people I'm going to give Brandon. So when we get off, just stay where you are. If you have commitments, you can go. But Brandon, I'm going to keep you here for a minute. Yeah. We got a lot happening. September is going to be a game-changing month. I have the mother of all guests coming on. I can't say anything yet. I'm not allowed to say anything until we're 2 weeks out.
Absolutely.
But this was an amazing episode. Thank you to my friend. He's right here in our chat room, Jimmy Shands. They call him Jimmy Thunder from Down Under. He is our man in Australia and New Zealand. He brought us the news today. We are number 1 in Australia and number 1 in New Zealand. That's real. That's no BS. That's for real. And we are just shy of the 400,000 mark for episode 1 of Turbo Cola. So let's see what episode 2 does. We have
absolutely.
And go ahead, Amelia. I'm sorry, dear.
Oh, also, if you haven't yet, please come to our group. What's the Buzz group? We have that, and
do that. Yeah, tell everybody where
please
they can reach
become
out.
a member of our group. It's a brand new group that we started up as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, and
and
it grows
our
rapidly
Instagram.
too.
Yes, and on Instagram.
I also want people to support Turbo Cola. So
Yes,
rent the movie,
absolutely.
buy the merch.
Merchandise.
One thing that I do on this show, and I'm offered free merch all the time. I buy merch because I believe in my guests and I believe in their product. Amelia and I have purchased Turbo Cola T-shirts, and that we will wear them proudly. And I want everybody, if you have Amazon or Netflix or any pay service, there's actually a movie theater not far from me that's actually showing Turbo Cola. It's actually being shown on the big screen in selected theaters.
It will be showing in Tampa very soon as well, at the old movie theater that we have in Tampa. It's going to be saw the previews.
Yep. Absolutely. Say again, Jordyn?
I said, Brandon, is it playing in LA anywhere or California?
Or New York?
Or New York, yeah.
I didn't
And
know.
I know we're going to be watching it as well on TV.
I'm not supposed to say yet.
I encourage everyone to go out and support this film financially. Don't just give it a thumbs up. Spend some money on it. It's the little film that could and did. We know a little something about that. 5 years ago, this podcast was a dream. 4.5 years ago, it became a reality. So we went from virtually nothing to literally now broadcasting to more than 300,000 people consecutively on any given night. I'm honored that you believe in us, that you spend your time and energy with us. So on behalf of my audience, thank you, and we love you. For Amelia,
Absolutely.
for Brandon, for Jordyn Denning, for Anthony Notarile, I'm Mad Dog DeCipio. Take care, everybody. Till we see you next time, continue to ask the question, what's the buzz?